Hello everyone, I hope you're well. My name is Tim Sheehan, editor of the Brewers Journal, and it's a pleasure today to be joined by Tim Ryder, co-founder and co-owner of the fantastic Brook pub here in Brentford. How are you?
Hello, I'm good.
It's nice to be here in a capacity of some sort of professionalism, if that exists in my world.
Oh my, better stop this now then.
Well, you know, the beer is flowing nicely already. So if people don't know this part of West London, it's steeped in history of beer, brewing, fantastic pubs like the Brook, and also Griffin Park, the old home of Brentford Football Club. You and your wife Tosh took on what was the Royal Oak back in 2019.
You did, yeah.
And obviously called it the Brook, fantastic name, but that wasn't always going to be the proposed name.
No, there was, I believe this was called the Fourth Corner.
Yes.
So there was the famous four, so it was the Fourth Corner. But because the stadium was going, there's potentially so many new people going to move into Brentford that we just thought I'm sad to say this, but in sort of 3 years, 4 years' time, nobody will even know that there was a stadium there. So we kind of went with the Brook, the Babbling Brook. It was a family thing that we used to talk about in Yorkshire with the little streams,
yes.
the Babbling Brook. Yeah. And also the steam trains used to use the Brook, which comes from Ealing and feeds the steam trains. So,
that's right.
And when it all flooded, so when the steam trains went, all of this area flooded. So,
wow.
So yeah.
Well, lots changed in those five years. Where's the time gone?
Yeah,
for Brentford.
We lost 2 years.
Well, we did. Yeah. But for Brentford as a football club, obviously moved a little bit down the road. And I imagine that, you know, the sort of custom that brought in was a big impact on.
Yeah, we had, I think it was about 18 home matches. And the away fans were lovely, but that's what this pub was. It was the away pub. And they parked the buses down there and they came in at Brentford Football Club, and they came in en masse. And most of the other pubs around here wouldn't actually take away fans. So this was the designated away pub.
So I think probably last season at Griffin Park, I came here for the first game of the season, which was Brentford dominated in a 1-0 loss to Birmingham. And you had some great beers on, as always. But some of the people, the away fans, they were not used to some of the calibre of some of these beers, I think. Well behaved, but they were on their way for a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got stellar 4% in at one stage to keep them happy. And obviously keep the price down a little bit as well, but even that was a bit flash for them as well. So
it's you know, they went home happy.
Yeah.
Long journey back, 2-3 hours. But
it's strange though, because if you think of all the breweries, Manchester, Bristol, blah blah blah, everywhere we're playing, it is kind of weird that they hadn't seen half the beers that we sell here, because there's not that many from around here, is there?
No.
Most of the stuff I sell is from miles away.
Yeah, well, I think that on that day there was a Belgian style IPA from Hardywood in the States, Virginia. So, I mean,
that was a bit of visions of grandeur about changing the world and putting how strong was that? Was it 12.5%?
It was
12. I think the only people that actually came to drink it was publicans or brewers who had never tasted it.
No.
And then I do remember another brewery, which I don't know if we're allowed to mention names of other breweries, but the Owl and the Pussycat, the two brewers, the two owners of that came in here and got absolutely battered on it.
Yeah, well, it's one of these, like
I've never seen them since, actually.
Well, there we go. No one else has, maybe. Yeah. But it's like any great beer, you know, it really did a good job of hiding its ABV.
Yeah.
Like what we're drinking now. I mean, this is a session strength.
It's good, actually, is that?
It's really good. So this is a Polly's Pale Ale. Mm-hmm. You do well, I'd like to go back to the history of Griffin Park in a moment, but what you do really well, better than anyone really, I think, is really giving breweries a really good platform here. You know, putting them into the lives of people that might not normally know they exist.
Yep. I've worked in pubs a long time. So sort of Whitbread days when Kronenberg and Stella were posh, you know, and really that was all there was. And then I've been through the Hogarden and Leffe introduction, and then some fancy pants beers. And then sort of, if you think about it, it's all happened over the last sort of 40 years, 30 years really, where it's gone from that stuff that everybody sells, and everybody still does sell in a lot of pubs, the traditional 5-6 beers. It's all lager.
Yep.
It's lager everywhere. And it was really going to the Tabard, so Whitburn, then going off to the Tabard in Chiswick, that I was introduced to a huge selection of cask ales through Seba, because and then getting to know the owners of these little breweries
Yep.
that sit through Seba, they started to offer me stuff that basically, well, was off-piste, to put it politely. So I think I got Meantime Yakima in.
Wow, Yakima Red.
Yeah, which was a product that was just, nobody was selling anything like it, and we'd all gone through this terrible Bonington stage and all the rest of it. That's sort of bitter, cold, fizzy, but nobody had really come up with anything quite like Yakima, 4%, something you could drink a lot of.
Yeah.
So I was the first to do that. And then somebody said, Tim, have you heard of Punk, this new thing called Punk? And I said, no. And I said, how much is it? And he said, oh, it's expensive. So I think back in the day, Spirit needed to make something like 73% margins. I mean, massive margins.
Yeah.
So I went for 75 because I knew I was going to get into trouble. And I had a phone call from head office straight away saying, what is this Punk IPA? And I said, well, it's going to revolutionise the industry, full stop. I said, it's a completely different
And it flew
beer.
out when you had it, didn't it?
It did. We started to sell 2 to 3 barrels of it, more or less straight away.
Wow.
And we were way over £8 a pint.
Yeah.
I think it was about $8.70 to get. This is 13 years ago.
Yeah.
13. Well, longer than that.
Yeah.
And he said, you're selling it at how much? And I said, well, yeah, it's 8 to get the margins. And he said, what? He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it at all. So, so that was really the start of finding something different, something unique to sell, which is what it's all about, isn't it?
But you take great pride and think, you've told me before that if you're selling what you believe to be the best, that's an easy job.
Yeah. I'm a salesman. I was MFI Salesman of the Year.
Wow.
Back in York many years
MFI.
ago. Yeah, I know. Ding dong. And I've always kind of figured that if you sell something really good, which MFI wasn't, but it was cheap, so that was part of the reason why I was able to sell it. But I always figured if you can sell something like, say, a printer or something like that, if it's the best printer, then you've got something to be proud of. A good product will sell. So I kind of thought that when I got here, not only do I like this stuff, but I just thought if I can actually order this stuff in and just create something, it's only eight taps, maybe 12 if you include Guinness and whatever. But it's 8 taps of selling something that's unique. If you want all the other stuff, then other pubs are available, as they say. If you want a cider that's never been near an apple, then go and have it.
But no, you're right. So you obviously have breweries like Polly's, Pressure Drop here quite frequently, Left-Handed Giant, to name a few. Obviously Jawbone locally in sort of Strawberry
Ben
Hill.
down at Jawbone. I think it's. I'm trying to help him. I don't sell enough beer for him. I think he'd like me to sell a hell of a lot more of it. But I'm hoping that I really want him to be able to succeed. He's working incredibly hard.
He is.
I've never heard anything quite like it, to be quite honest. He brews it. He sleeps there.
Yep.
He cleans it. He delivers it in his little yellow Fiesta at half past 11 at night, and then goes back and works again. It's astonishing what he does. So anyway, but the problem is you've got to keep rotating your beers all the time. So I only ever sell one of this. This is the only barrel I'll get.
Yeah.
Other Pollies are available, so let's swap all the time. The Pressure Drop that we got on the tour, what's it called? Gratuity something?
Yes,
that has given Polly's a run. There's a lot of people gone, no, I'm going to stick with that. And I was able to get an extra barrel of that.
So I think, with these beers, though, a lot of the time, the beers that you're bringing in are hop-forward, hazy, pale ales and IPAs. This is 4 point something. You've got a Rakow from Polly's 6.5.
Yeah.
How hard or easy was it to... Because we're in an area that's, there's a lot of good pubs around, but... pride.
Let's have pride.
And you know, it can be a great pint, ESB as well. But you know, when I bring friends in here and so on and so forth, it's not. They're like, what?
Yeah.
These beers are on. I mean, how was it a hard sell to kind of?
Well, the disappointing thing was coming from the tab to here, which had 10. I used to sell 30 to 35 nines a week.
Wow.
Of different beers. It was a mad place. We had badges everywhere, and it was really difficult to keep that going. So I came here thinking that we were going to sell loads of real ale. I had 6 cask taps on, and we opened up with 6 different beers, including Titanic Plum Porter and blah blah, and none of it sold. I chucked it all in the bin, and it was weird that the stuff that I got on here, these IPAs that I'd got in, people were looking at those, and people were actually drinking those, and I just thought, well, this is the customer that I'm getting, and you've got to give the customer what they want, but they need a nudge. They need a nudge. So the guys that would have come in here and had a pride or a tribute or a hop head or whatever I was, trying to get on there, they were just going, I can drink this anyway. I want to drink something different. And maybe it was my attitude, my selling technique that maybe did it a little bit.
Because I see firsthand people returning for these beers. And because I think you platform, you've got some breweries that you really trust, they'll see the name, they'll maybe look at the ABV, but because they know they've really enjoyed it here before, then it's just a simple case of repeatability.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest thing a brewery can have, is have that reputation for consistency and quality that, the great breweries will do that, where you can go, I know it's going to be a good pint, let me have it.
Yeah. I think again, going back to the bit of giving the customer ish what they want, then I said ish what they want, but you get the guys coming in saying, we got anything else on IPA? And that was an interesting thing. So, you're going back to the Yakima, which I did actually have in here, but it seems to have changed slightly, the beer, since I had it the first time. So it's actually finding, I've got a red ale on at the moment,
Bristol
which
Beer
is
Factory.
Bristol, which is perfect. And it's the customer that comes in and says, well, I want a cask, but actually it's warm out, or I need it cold and colder, and maybe some gas in it. So it's actually trying to find. The difference in IPAs is astonishing. You can go from the 3. Polly's have just bought up this 3.2% thing. It's fantastic. But it's completely different to this, and it's obviously completely different to the Racco. So, but if you have this many taps, you can't just have a load of IPAs. You've got to have something in the mix. So, the stout that we do. Well, we've got a Bristol at the moment. I think we've got back in Wiper. We've got Wiper in at the moment.
Yeah,
but,
the milkshake.
I want the Siren Breakfast Stout.
Broken Dream.
It's too strong.
No such thing. No such thing.
Drop it.
But it is glorious, that one. And you have the Vine Stefan Hellers as well.
Yeah, that Vine Stefan has definitely been a great find for me. People really like that.
So how do you? Because you've definitely got customers, like any good business, that know what they want. And so how does the conversation go when you're like, okay, well, we've got this, give it a go? Because you've definitely converted a lot of people onto these breweries and beers that I think would have been tough.
Yeah, I think you need to look at individuals when they come in. You can tell an awful lot from people. I think when you run a pub, you can tend to suss out people pretty quickly. This being a locals pub, you tend to know most people that walk through the door. I do like serving the 2 halves. Obviously, back in the day, you used to do the little taste things, the third of a pint, which is so dull. So we just do halves, so 2 halves. So if you get tourists in, then if they ask for a pint or of anything, they look terrified anyway. But you just sort of smile and just say, here's some halves, and you can start at one end and end at the other. And that's what I do when I go out and drink. I'd have 2 halves of everything just to see what it's like. But you need to look at some of this. If you've got a couple coming in, you genuinely need to look at them and say to the guy, he doesn't want to get battered anymore. Those days of 18 pints of Stella and going home have gone. You genuinely need to look at. You can tell an awful lot just by looking at somebody what they'll drink.
There was
a guy in last night his second time he's been in, he was drinking the Longman.
Okay.
And he said, I'll have a pint of Longman, but you could see that he didn't want to have it. I actually served him the red ale, and he looked at me straight away and he went, "Oh, that's brilliant." Like that. And, he didn't like the price of it, but,
Yeah. I mean, get what you pay for.
Yeah.
I mean, you've worked in a wealth of really respected pubs over the years. How has running pubs, working in pubs changed in that time? How long we got?
Mufasa. It's. I don't know whether it's about competition. I always figured that if you were nice to people, that they'd come back. I'm a bit cheeky on the bar. I say things that probably I shouldn't, but it's just about trying to get. Well, it is, but I don't think you're allowed that. I mean, that's the reason why I got sacked so many times over the years. So you're just not allowed to do things like that anymore. But I think it is. I find it really difficult. I'll be honest with you. I find it really difficult to do. But you don't do. I don't think you run a pub for money. Anybody that comes into running pubs for money now is. Do you remember those days when people say, "Oh yeah, I've just retired and I've got about £130,000 pay up, and I'm going to buy a pub," and I just go, "You absolute." Lunatic.
Yeah.
I mean, if that guy will have died of a heart attack at 63, without a doubt. I mean, it's just incredibly difficult. But you just need to manage your time and all the rest of it, which I think COVID has made us do. It certainly made me do that a lot more. It's trying to manage my time. So I've got time with my wife and go and walk my dog and all the rest of it. So if you are a bit like the music industry, I think if you're actually in it to try and make money, then you're in the wrong industry. Music you do for love of it. And I think you run a pub because you, number one, love the customers, and it's the people that come in to a pub. There was an area manager said to me years ago, when I first bought this, I said, the place is an absolute mess. And he said, you don't need to change anything at all. He said, it's the people inside the pub that actually matter. It's the people that you attract in that actually make a pub. And if those people attract other people, they bring their friends in because I think they'll like this place.
Yeah.
Because it's not, a testosterone film, Cronenberg, Foster's Nightmare or whatever. It's a £8 a pint or $7.50 or whatever it is for a really good pint of Polly's that they'll never get anywhere else.
No.
And that's got to be what it's all about. So money, forget money.
But you must be really, you and Tosh, your wife, business partner, really proud of this community that you've created.
Listen, if I've got one thing to be proud of, a few things to be proud of in my life, it's wife, family, and the fact that this pub's still open is astonishing. Yep. We opened, 6 months before COVID, 7 months before COVID, and although we knew we'd open again because of the help we got, but I'm actually still astonished that we're still open. I really am sometimes. So.
I mean, obviously, no one could have seen COVID coming. I mean,
you're
fully
faster than me.
It's going down well. If we edit it correctly, it might magically not ramp back up. But were you aware of the sort of the brewing heritage of this pub when you took it on?
I tried to read quite a lot about the history and actually really struggled to find anything because I came from the old Cheshire Cheese on Fleet Street, which has just got immense history. I mean, it's astonishing.
Probably one of the most famous pubs in the UK, really. Yeah.
So I came from that, and there was desperately hoping and finding things. And okay, it was 4 buildings, it was 4 houses, and we've now found out that they may have kept a horse and cart in the shed out the back because we found a little ticket for a taxi service to the Brentford station, and it also sold milk at one stage in the alley. Do you remember the old aluminium?
Yes,
So it actually was the milk thing at one stage as well. And we've had a few famous people in here, and the beautiful leaded lights upstairs.
Yes, yep.
They're done by somebody quite famous, and they're really beautiful. I can't afford to fix them, but they're really beautiful. But other than that, I've really struggled to get the history of it. And the Brentford Brewery thing is, something amazing. The fact that it was owned by Brentford Brewery all those years ago. But,
Royal Brewery.
The Royal Brewery. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. And it's, great history, but it's difficult to find information out.
It is. There's a little out there, but I think that's why it's it's so unique that this area, you know, as I said at the start, it's steeped in the brewing history, the beer history, but obviously with Griffin Park as well. I think it's quite unusual, really, to have that sort of wealth of character.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've got, you know, everyone said at the start as well, four pubs. I think even though Brentford have moved up the road to, you know, Kew Bridge at the G-Tech, there's still a real lot of, I feel, love and passion and goodwill towards this area and the pubs that exist.
I actually think Brentford's an amazing area. I lived in Chiswick for 8-9 years. The warmth that I got that Tosh and I both got when we got here was amazing, really.
Yeah.
You know, cards and flowers and good lucks and all the rest of it. And I think people, Steve and Sula that lived down the road, they lived there 32 years. They'd never been in this pub.
Wow.
And yet Sula will come here by herself now
Yeah.
and sit at the bar by herself.
Yeah.
And that makes my heart.
Of course.
You know, pitter pat when you got things like that.
Yeah,
coming in.
yeah.
Because that's what running a pub is all about. So there's some really good people in Brentford. I think there's some crackers. I mean, I actually got my first bar job when I came down from wherever the hell I'd lived before. Doesn't matter anymore. But I was 23 when I got my first bar job in Brentford. I used to live in Brentford Dock and loads of different houses around here and all the rest of it, and realised at the age of 26, 27 that actually this is what I wanted to do. No more kitchen fitting. I used to work at the Do It All down the Great West Road. Yeah. So
wow.
There is some belting people. There's I think the good people of Chiswick and Ealing sold their houses and came here and been here ever since. They love it.
Well, you know, pub
the community. There's a real community that I've never ever felt anywhere else.
Well, a good pub is, you know, as it's short for, it's public house, and if you know, not everywhere can do that.
Yeah.
But you've done it here, and I mean, for people that only now go to the G-Tech, it's not far, is it? Really?
No.
You could 15-minute walk.
We get exactly the same people every time after the game.
Yeah.
It's the same people, and they sit at the same tables, and I know what they drink: 3 bitters, 2 portions of chips. The dad, then the son that sit there, and I know what they're eating, and I know what they're drinking. If they haven't got a bitter on, he goes, "Yeah, that's not very good." And then there's a big table over there of 12 people that the mum comes here because I've got Tanqueray non-alcoholic gin.
Lovely.
You know, but the rest of the boys all drink Polly's Super.
Yeah.
You know, so it's Polly's Super.
Oh, wow. Well.
They wouldn't like that, would they?
No, maybe not. Maybe not.
But yeah, there's the footy. The footy side is. I didn't come here for it.
No.
I didn't come here for it. So I've got a tally for the Euros and the rugby, and that's it. But I didn't come here for that. So I don't want to spend my time doing lovely food and lovely beer and all the rest of it, and not being understood by the people that are coming in.
Yeah.
You know, and as I say, there's a plethora. Can never say that word of pubs around here that actually can help that. That's what they're set up for and always have been.
No,
but this pub was the away pub. Nobody ever came here anyway for the football.
No. But I think that the history of Griffin Park, you do get that, you know, people that do come
the
for
fourth corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but with that in mind, just as we wrap up, obviously, you've never bought into being a football pub, and as a result, you have your hours over the week are kind of you don't open at the beginning of the week, do you?
We close on a Monday and Tuesday.
So for people that want to come and visit, what are they?
Monday and Tuesday we close, which I think there's a lot of people doing it, and I think there's a lot of publicans actually going, do you know, why are we doing this? Why are we opening on the Monday and Tuesday? And I think I think the people should actually just say, well, I'll open on Monday and you close on a Tuesday or whatever, and share a bit of the wealth at the start. But during the day, we used to open all the time. I used to work from clean the pub at 9 o'clock and I'd get to bed at 1 o'clock. I'd literally be on the bar all of that time. And now we just gone, what are we doing this for? People of Brentford work. There was nobody coming in during the day. So I think we sold 4 meals, I think, in the first 2 weeks we were open, 3 weeks we were open. You just go, this is silly. So we now open at 5 o'clock, Monday to Saturday. We should open Saturday daytime, but again, cost effective wise, hiring somebody to be here, it means that I have to be here as well because I'm the licensee. I need to be on the premises at all time. So it means that I would actually be doing, those hours, and I just can't do that anymore. I'm getting too old for
No,
this.
nonsense,
But
nonsense. But it's
Sunday all day basically. So that's a 12 o'clock.
Yeah,
so 10
that's always a
o'clock.
great time.
Yeah.
And you do
so-
some blues nights as well.
We do some
Fridays.
music. We do some. We have pop up foods on the Wednesday and Thursday. And Tosh, although she wouldn't thank me for saying this, but she can really cook some food. She really can cook some food, and she was never destined to actually be the chef / cook in here.
Many talents.
So, yeah.
No,
But-
great stuff. Great stuff. Well, I think it's time for another Polly's, isn't it?
I think it is.
Great.
Or I might mess you up and get you something else.
Fine by me. Fine by me. Well, thank you, Tim, and thanks.
Good timing, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it's working very well. Yeah.
No post editing needed. So thank you very much today to Tim
Thanks for coming
Ryder,
in.
co-founder and co-owner of the Brook here in Brentford. I've been Tim Sheehan, editor of the Brewers Journal. See you next time.